Today on the Sober Gay Guy YouTube channel, we are talking about shame. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't already, you can go to Anchor and Apple Podcasts, also iHeartRadio. And finally, you can go to Spotify and like the Sober Gay Guy podcast. So enjoy today's episode. See you next time on TJ Talks. Bye. Getting just me today. I am going to introduce you to this new podcast version of my show for Sober Gay Guy. I hope to be bringing to you at least once a week, or if not once a week, then once every other week. I'm also recording this on my Sober Gay Guy YouTube channel. So you are gonna be able to not only check it out on your favorite podcast platform, but you can also check this out on the Sober Gay Guy YouTube channel. So we'll be uploading this once a week. No, I'm sorry, maybe twice a week or 3 times a week. Whenever the hell I want to load it, I'm gonna upload this on those channels so you can hear me on iHeartRadio, on the Apple Podcasts, I've said it a million times, I don't need to remind you. I'm sorry for my squeaky chair in the background. If you're watching me on YouTube, also joining me is Lucy in the background and Midgie, my dog, on the couch. But you can't see her, but you can absolutely hear her snoring on the couch. So today in TJ Talks, we are going to be talking about shame. Isn't that fun? Shame. And I bring this up today because I am currently in a situation at work, at the studio, where I had the unfortunate situation of, well, I'm not going to name names. It's an uncomfortable situation. And it's just an uncomfortable situation where one of my teachers, I don't know if I want to talk about it just because it leaves a very uncomfortable feeling and it kind of casts a bad shadow on the studio, but something happened and one of my students was made to feel shame. And it enraged me. It made me feel incredibly angry and uncomfortable. This student then went a couple of days later, almost a week later, actually. This student went to, and by the way, this student has been coming to the studio for well over a decade. So they are, they're family. They're family. They are loved by the other students and teachers. And they're just going through a thing physically and not able to just shine physically in the studio. And this particular person went to another teacher and told that teacher what had happened. And in turn, that teacher came to me and shared this story. Clearly, the other teacher was very, very upset about it. It is against not only the studio's principles, but obviously against yogic principle. And I continue to be very broadsided by it. I had it was like a flashback immediately. Well, it wasn't immediately, it was probably, after class started, because this student told the teacher before class started, and then the teacher told me before class started, and I went back to the prop room, which is where I'm sitting right now, because we're kind of in flux between studios. And I sat there in silence and I felt my temperature rising and my blood pressure rising and was kind of infuriated. I immediately wanted to call and just, cut ties. So I was lucky that I was forced to be in this quiet zone in the back of the studio in the prop room to just do some work and work on the website. So after some time, I felt this flash of my childhood come on of 6th grade in Mrs. Blatt's class. She's probably good and dead by now. Not that I wish death upon people, but in 6th grade, I was tormented. I was tormented a lot as a young boy. I was clearly queer. I was not fully aware of my queerness at that point, but bullies, they they find you and they know. So whether or not it's that I only hung around girls, or whether or not it was the way I spoke and my lisp, or whether or not, my intonations, or I fucking don't know how it works, but they made fun of me and they knew it. And I didn't even know it then. And Mrs. Blatt, wait, was her name Mrs. Blatt? She was the English teacher. All my friends from grade school, help me out here. I don't know that it was Mrs. Blatt. And one day in school, after all those boys, I could name you by name, made fun of me, in front of the class, she walked over and she said, "Mr. Booth, I don't know why it is you feel it necessary to act like, I don't know, Tinkerbell or whatever movie character it is you feel like acting like some kind of bird, flitting around class, acting like a fairy. But all of this attention you're bringing to yourself is only developing negative attention. Sit down and act like the other boys." And obviously I was humiliated. I was sad, and I was so angry. She had a white convertible. Her husband was an airline pilot, and they had lived in the Bahamas at one point, and I have such clear memories back then of her. And I just had this vision of her careening down a Bahamian mountainside, and her car going up in flames. And I was just infuriated that she would shame me in front of class. Didn't she know? You can see my recording device. I have to get a stand. Didn't she know that I wasn't the problem in class? That it was the other boys, that they were the bullies. I was the new kid in town, new kid on the block, as it were, back then. Please don't go, girl. Sorry. I was the new kid on the block, and I was a good kid. I was a good boy. I was having fun with my best friend, Thea. We just were having a great time, and she was pointing me out, and they were the ones making fun of me. She shamed me in front of the class. She should have been helping me. She should have been doing her job. She should have been pulling me aside and saying, "I'm so sorry that this is what's happening." My job is what she should have said. My job as an adult and as a teacher, as an educator, is to protect you. And this person at my studio, their job is not to shame this student to a different part of the studio. Their job is to help this student at the studio. And that's not what they did. They didn't do their job. So, for the last 48 hours now, 24, going on 24, today's Tuesday. Yeah, so 24. For for the last 24 hours, you're hearing this many days in post recording, I have been sitting in silence. And today I listened to my friend Sarah Goggin-Young. She has this wonderful Tuesday morning group that listens on Instagram and on Facebook. She meets at 6:15 every Tuesday on Instagram, Sarah Goggin-Young, The Power to Believe, every morning at Tuesday morning. And she was integral in my recovery, by the way. She was the first person I went to when I said, I got to get clean a couple of years ago. I need help. I can't do this alone, but I'm scared and I know I need to do it. Thank you, Sarah. She listens. Hopefully she'll be watching. And I listened to her this morning, and the end of the talk, which is only about 20 minutes, sometimes 35, the call to action was, do not think harsh, negative thoughts about people today. Whatever it is you do, today's the day that you don't think negatively about people. So if you have any kind of important decisions to make those decisions without negativity. So if I have something that I have to think, if I have a decision that I have to make about somebody today, I have to set aside all of my negative opinions of that person and make my decisions about them regardless of how I feel negatively about them. So write that down. So think about that. If you're a supervisor or a person or somebody that's going through something negative right now with somebody in your life, that was a challenge for me. And it took me, first off, it took me like an hour to get into the headspace to even go there. I had to meditate on letting go of that negativity because I have opinions of that person already. I'm gonna have a drink of my pride, out of my pride cup. So I, first off, had to just get into that headspace and let go of those negative opinions. And then I had to go through all of the scenarios that I had been through prior with that person and take away all of the negativity and see if I could get through them without it. And then I had to go through this scenario without negativity. And how would I approach her if I didn't feel bad about her, or without feeling bad about her? Going up to her and saying, I understand this, and I came to my conclusion, and I came to my answer. I have my solution. And my solution, it turns out, was the same endpoint. So I knew that I could trust my gut. I knew that I was right in the first place. So I was very, very proud of myself. I was drinking on my pride cup, but I was very proud of myself that I'm in a clear place emotionally, professionally, that I still got to the same endpoint by when I still took away. And it reminded me that it was healthier for me to get to that endpoint without that anger, upset, and by dissolving all of my anger and my opinion of her, it actually felt a lot healthier to come to that end point without being all fired up, because I felt empathetic for this person and I feel bad for this person, but it still doesn't make the difference. It doesn't change the outcome, and I can move on and feel bad for them and let them go and not let them go. I can let them go. So let's get into it a little bit. Should we? Let's take a couple of minutes and let's talk about shame. I'm gonna hit the stop button and I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Give me a sec. Okay, so we're back. I got myself a little bit more comfortable and I'm gonna turn, and I've got some notes on my computer, and so you'll see me going back and forth between the computer and the phone. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about shame. Shame's a nasty but necessary little animal. What you don't know, or what you do know about shame, and what it does to us. So shame, obviously, it's the fear of humiliation. We've all felt it. We've all been down this road. But what you may not know is that there's four types of shame. There's a few types of shame. And there's some that you may or may not be familiar with. It's always interesting when there's a tow truck in front of the house, isn't there? So there are four types of shame. The first, which is the most fundamental form of shame, and it's actually the best example of it, is the unrequited love or unrequited love. And this can be explained or detailed as for lack of better explanation, the mother-infant relationship. So the mother-infant relationship and how crucial that is for the reciprocal feeling of joy and attachment for children growing up, and that feeling or how they feel good about themselves. And if they're in an abusive relationship and they don't feel those feelings of love and attachment, then they have those feelings of unrequited love. And with those feelings come shame. So children that are born into a family of unrequited love raise themselves feeling not good enough, feeling shame about themselves. So when that doesn't happen, or when that mother-infant relationship, or because I'm an adoptive parent with two dads, so it's hard for me to say mother-infant relationship. So when that parent-infant relationship doesn't happen, they're left with feelings of shame, or, and this is a hard word to hear, defect. On a personal note, my son is currently going through these feelings of shame and defect. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Dwayne and I are raising him in any bad way. It has everything to do with the fact that Jonah now knows that he is an adoptive child, and that there is a family out there that is not us. That he was born to somebody else, and that somebody else put him up for adoption, and we have him. So we are going through a whole new round of emotions, along with puberty and the hormones that come along with all of that. So new into our life, along with all of this, are these feelings of unrequited love. It's tough, but we're getting through it, and we are seeking therapy. And what we know we have to do is we have to give him more of that parent-infant relationship, and we have to offer him more of that. Sorry, my computer shut off. And I'm really sorry for the squeaky chair. We have to offer him more of that attachment therapy. So when Jonah says, hey, can I have a sleepover with you? Or do you want to, hey, can I sleep in your bed tonight? Even as a 12-year-old, it's not creepy. There's no underlying creepiness about that. It's because he is feeling scared. It's because he feels the need to feel extra love. Along with my son's, unrequited love and those feelings of shame, he also has fetal alcohol syndrome. So his brain and his frontal lobe functions differently. So we have to be very careful and tender with him. So there we go. So shame number 2, exclusion. This is a fun one. Here we go. So in 6th grade with Mrs. Blatt, this isn't that. But it sort of pushed me into feelings of exclusion. But exclusion, as humans, we're kind of pack animals. More than anything, we're tribal. Humans are tribal. But back in the day when we were cave people, we were tribal, more tribal than anything. Indian clans, and we moved in packs and we moved in tribes, and we all wanted to belong. And when that is taken away, when we're excluded, we feel shame. So when we are when we want to feel welcome in a group, when we want to be with quote unquote the popular kids, or when we want to be in a sorority and the sorority says no, or when we try out for a band and the band says no, or try and get a job and the job says no. Those feelings of shame that come along with exclusion, we carry that deeply. We feel it. So there's shame number 2. And this is one of the reasons why bullying has such a detrimental effect on kids. You're being excluded. So number 1, I mean, bullying doesn't usually just happen with one person. It happens a lot, but bullying is usually done by a pack of people. So there's usually more than one person bullying one other person. It's usually a pack of people that is bullying one person. So then you're being told that this pack of people, this tribe, is against you. So you certainly can't be with that tribe. Gosh, and so then there's added shame coming along with that pack, that tribe of people pushing you away. So that's an added shame. The third type of shame is unwanted exposure. I'm gonna have a drink of my coffee from my Pride cup for this one. As a sober person, I woke up with feelings and worry for unwanted exposure maybe once a week, minimum once a week. Y'all out there who are in recovery, you know what I'm talking about. I talked about this in episode 5 of my blog reading. At the very beginning of it, if you remember and if you listened, how did I get to my bed, and who did I hurt last night, and what did I say? Right? That's unwanted exposure. Doing something, saying something that you didn't mean to say or want to say, and it having a detrimental effect on you. That's unwanted exposure. Something that brings unnecessary and unwanted attention to you. That is unwanted exposure, the shame of unwanted exposure. You're at a wedding reception. I mean, I've been here. You're at a wedding reception and you're wasted out of your mind and you're on the dance floor, you slip and fall, and you spill your drink all over one of the bridesmaids. Unwanted exposure. You go to a Christmas business party, work party, and you get wasted out of your mind and you embarrass the shit out of yourself, or expose yourself or show pictures on your phone of your genitals, and you have to go to work the next day. Unwanted exposure. I say that as a real life moment in time. That's unwanted exposure. There you go. That is a moment in shame. And number 4, the disappointment expectation. When you have or set a goal for yourself that you fall short of. I say, it's a good example for this is when I was in marching band and we played in a marching band competition and we didn't get the placement that we wanted, and we, got second place instead of first. There, you feel shame for that, right? So those are the 4 feelings of shame. Here's the good news. We can overcome it. We can overcome it in many ways. Oftentimes, when you overcome feelings of shame when you do have a win. You just have to make sure you make light of that win. Shame can be a very nasty animal. And the other good news is, as I stated, and I have always stated, you're not alone. As humans, regardless of whether or not you are in a state of recovery, or whether or not you are in a state of just life. Yep. Hopefully that continued to record. Recovery or in a state of life, you're not alone. Everybody goes through feelings of shame. The important thing is that you relay it to somebody and you talk about it. My accountability practice is that I write about it and that I share it with somebody. I have talked about my feelings of shame a lot. I'll always talk about it. As soon as I stop talking about my feelings of shame, my recovery is in question. As soon as I stop being accountable for myself and my shame, my recovery is in question. That is how I am accountable for that is how my recovery will always be active, is my accountability for it. So that is my show today. I welcome any recommendations and suggestions. Please like and share this episode with your friends. I want anybody to comment on this episode. I would love to hear from you all, please. If you're watching this on YouTube, please comment in the comment section of this YouTube channel, and I'll respond, I promise. I want everybody to understand that they're not walking alone on this journey, and that we're all here to hold each other up. And I'm here to help. I'm here to help everybody as much as I can. I'm only one person, so but as a collective, we can all make a difference for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this. I keep bumping my shirt. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And now you know more about shame. I hope you know more about shame than you did before. And I hope it makes a little bit more sense and helps you feel a little bit less alone than it did prior to listening to this episode. It is just a word, but there are a whole lot of feelings that come along with just that word. And we all have it in common. So thank you for listening to this episode. My name is TJ. We're all important. Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode. Take care.